So you were able to obtain an audio recording that involved Carolyn Bennett talking to some Ontario chiefs back on October 11th, where Bennett says that she wants to cut out organizations that deal directly with First Nations children in care. What do you think of the government trying to cut you and your organization out of this picture?
Well, I think it's problematic for a couple of reasons. One is that they're subject to an order to talk to the Assembly of First Nations and the Caring Society about the process for compensation, and they haven't fulfilled that order. It suggests that perhaps they want to have conversations with people until they get to somebody who will agree to have the conversation on their terms. But that it doesn't make any sense to us. We don't know why they won't sit down and just talk to us and try to work out a process that's respectful of the children and families.
Does it sound, are we reading this correctly, that they would rather talk about the kids that were in care? They want to have a direct dialogue with children?
Yeah, we find that very problematic if that's what they're intending to do, for a couple of reasons. One is the tribunal found that Canada's discrimination is ongoing. So it's not as if it's over, it's still going on. And the second thing is these are children, right? I mean, it's like, what are they going to talk to them about? What do they want to hear from these kids? What it's like to be removed from your family? What it's like to be denied a service? Are they going to try and negotiate the kids down on the amount? Like, it's completely unethical. And that wasn't even done in an IRS situation where we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission set up to hear those stories, an independent, culturally safe body. That we wouldn't have thought about putting survivors face to face with really the groups that perpetrated the injustice, Canada and the churches. Yet in this case, Canada seems to want to just have direct contact with the kids and forget about all of the tribunal or the representative organizations, and I think that's wrong.
Do you think that the motivation for this is that they want to base compensation based on not just you being wrongly removed and put into care, but that they want to tie it to how long you were in care, if you have suffered abuse or anything in care? Is that the gist of what you think they're up to?
Well, that's what they seem to suggest on the tape. But I think it's really important for people to understand that the $40,000 that they were ordered to pay does not stop any of those children or their families going for additional compensation under other actions like a class action or a civil action. Okay. This is a special penalty to Canada because it breached the Canadian Human Rights Act in a willful and reckless way. So I don't see how it would be to the advantage of children or their families to waive these human rights damages and somehow hope that Canada gives them a better deal under another set of circumstances. So I don't think the minister understands that this is a Canadian Human Rights Award and not a civil action where there's been mediation between these groups of adults who have been harmed and the government.
What's next in this case?
What's next is, despite the Prime Minister's statements and despite Carolyn Bennett's statements that they want to provide compensation, they didn't change their legal positions at a case conference with the federal court on Friday. So we will be going to hearing on this matter on November 25th and 26th in Ottawa to argue out the case. It's really sad to me that we have to still be fighting for kids to get fairness, but that's what's next.
Well, we will be following it as it winds its way through. Thanks so much, Cindy, for joining us to share your thoughts.
Thank you for having me.